Is Lexi, and I really love tabletop games. So much so that we get together once a week, every week, and review one here at the gaming table. If that sounds interesting to you, I encourage you to press subscribe and keep watching today's video. If you would like to go the extra special mile for the gaming table, you can donate to the channel using the link to my Ko-Fi page in the description box below. All donations to the channel go straight back into the running costs of the channel, so it is very deeply appreciated. Today I am reviewing a game I consider to be quite popular, so I feel a bit nervous about sharing my thoughts. It had an extensive first edition, which I actually have never played or read. Recently, a second edition of the game was published, and I felt it was time I took a look. From Paizo, this is Pathfinder, 2nd edition, core rulebook. This manual states that the focus of a lot of Pathfinder adventures and materials will focus on a place called the Inner Sea region. This region is where multiple continents, cultures, and different groups come together. It makes actually for a really good place to set an adventure, or at least start one. Your player characters can come from all sorts of different backgrounds, and it would make sense for them to be there. There's no one true dominant culture, species, or group. If you do want to set your game away from the Inner Sea, this book does provide a quick little summary of some of the areas surrounding it. However, I think if you are looking for more detail about these places because you wish to set a campaign in one of these further off lands, you might need to look to a different resource or a future release for further detail. Some of the locations mentioned in this manual are Absalon and the Starstone Isle. These are metropolitan centers of trade. Then, to the north are the Broken Lands, which are filled with danger. In the center of the continent of Avastin, decades of conflict have led the land to be shrouded in darkness and danger. While there is now peace, there's a lot of corrupted land with some strange things going on. There's the Golden Road, which is filled with essential paths for trade and desert landscapes. There is also a current massive civilization. There's the high seas, which are filled with pirates, and it would be a fantastic place to set a seafaring campaign. Then there's the impossible lands that are so full of magic that impossible things happen there. Then there is the Magwani Expanse, which is filled with lost civilizations as well as sprawling wilderness and a current impressive civilization to explore. Old Celtic is a place of rich history, previously perhaps places of great kingdoms and empires. Today, less chaotic. Then there are the Saga lands, which seem to be the origin of many myths and legends. Then there are the Shining Kingdoms. Previously, this region was a lot more important, as a lot of important kingdoms rose and fall here. Today, it's maybe of slightly less important, but no less impressive. In this core rulebook, it's humans who have the most interesting and varied cultures for you to explore. There's over 10 different ethnicities that are given a write-up for humans. In contrast, dwarves, elves, gnomes, goblins, and other creatures seem to be given just a short write-up of a monolithic culture. I would like to see this explored further, perhaps in a future release. I'm pretty certain that the non-human races would have varied cultures and different ethnic groups across the world. Pathfinder 2nd edition uses a D20 rollover system. When the players want their character to do something, they roll a D20 and they try to meet or beat a target number to achieve what they want. Your result on the die can be modified by an ability score or a proficiency bonus. Of course, depending on the circumstances, those scores could potentially be a hindrance rather than a help. A good portion of this core rulebook is dedicated to the character creation process. You first start by selecting an ancestry and a background. Ancestry and background provide bonuses to certain skills, and with Ancestry, you might get further improvements the higher level your character becomes. That one did strike me as a little bit funny, as it seems I guess, a bit strange to me that by leveling up you can access more of the benefits of your ancestry. In this manual for your ancestry, you get the option of dwarves, elves, gnomes, goblins, halflings, and humans. Humans does also include some half-human variants like half-elves and half-orcs. Once you have your ancestry and background selected, you then go on to choose a class. In this game, you get alchemists who can make really cool things. There's barbarians, bards, clerics, champions who are holy warriors, druids, fighters, monks, rangers, rogues, and sorcerers who are born with magic, and then wizards who study magic. A couple of the classes in this manual are really modular. To take on different benefits when you level up, you just have to hold a prerequisite score, or sometimes have a previous improvement. Other classes are a bit more restricted. You need to select something like a path, and you can only gain improvements from that path. You can't choose them from another path or another subclass. There are also plenty of class-neutral feats which you can take on. In this game, you go up a level every 1,000 experience points, which is pretty easy to remember, and that means you do get plenty of opportunities to unlock new shiny toys to try out. I don't want to get too in the weeds of discussing character creation or character improvement in this game. There's a lot to cover there. Let me just put it as there's some really neat options for equipment and some really interesting spells that have some fun little benefits. Lastly, if it is of interest to you, there's a great little section on crafting where your characters can make things, and a little bit about treasure in this world. One thing I do briefly want to touch on is the combat system. There's a couple of things I just really like about it. In combat in this game, every character gets free actions, 3 actions, and also a reaction. Free actions are things like talking. With the 3 actions, you can choose as one of those actions to move, and you can shuffle around what order you do it in. So you're not just restricted to moving then attacking. You could move, attack, move again, or move, move, attack. I guess one nitpick I had was, for some reason, raising your shield is considered an action in combat, and I think it would make more sense if it was a reaction. I will say, in terms of this manual, I wish there was a chapter that was a short bestiary. You do find throughout the core manual a couple of stat blocks for different animals scattered throughout. I just think if you wanted to run the game entirely from this manual, you would need to supplement it with some kind of bestiary, and if you were just getting started with the game, it would be great to just have a couple of select pages that are just set out with some monsters for you to play around with. I also would like it if that short little section included some non-player characters that you could reskin. I basically would just like 5 pages of just stat blocks that are set out in the contents or the index. I didn't expect to like Pathfinder 2nd edition as much as I do. I'm never quite sure how to describe the type of fantasy that this game takes place in. It's not quite medieval inspired, it's not quite Renaissance inspired. It's sort of a distant cousin to those historic genres. I'm not always a fan of this type of fantasy, but I think the mechanics of this game really won me over. I didn't get a lot of details about the inner sea setting that really grabbed my attention. I think I would have to look at some other supplements or potentially some pre-written adventures to find what I particularly find interesting about this place. If you are in a group that is looking for a fantasy tabletop game to try out, this could be a really fun one to try, particularly if you're a fan of a certain dragon game. I think the mechanics in this game are a bit more streamlined, but there's plenty of customization available for player characters, so there's a lot you can do with it. This manual is a pretty hefty book, and it retails around $60 US. For myself, I think a physical copy would be the most helpful while running the game. Of course, there are PDF versions available. I just find with such a hefty manual, a physical copy is a bit easier for me to jump to different sections than a digital one. So, Pathfinder 2nd edition. What are your thoughts? Is this the manual you would have started with, or should I have gone elsewhere? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. While you're there, I encourage you to like this video and perhaps even share it with a friend who you think would find it interesting. If you would like to know when I next have a review coming out, you can subscribe and turn on notifications so YouTube will tell you when I've uploaded next. Basically, any and all interaction with the video and the channel helps boost it in the algorithm, which I always deeply appreciate. It brings more people here. If you would like to go the extra special mile for the gaming table, you can donate to my Ko-Fi page, which I've linked in the description box below. All donations to the channel go straight back into the running costs of the channel, so it is deeply appreciated. I want to thank you all for watching and discussing the 2nd edition core rulebook for Pathfinder with me. I hope you're all well, and I look forward to seeing you next time at the gaming table. Bye!